So today we're going to be talking about single ship seed tactics. Now, mainly this is going to be revolving around you using your own aircraft as a decoy so that you can essentially get shot at and then you're going to be firing back with harm. Now, in order to survive this engagement, we're going to talk about how the SAM system works, how the system determines where the missiles should go, and how the missiles essentially work, at least in DCS. So, today we will be going up against an SA2 and an SA6, both STT target tracks, which makes it easier for me to be able to show off some of these tactics, mainly involving the F-18. But for the F-16 and for any other aircraft that does not have the tactical air launch decoy equipped, you have to essentially use the aircraft as a decoy. So you will essentially have to fly into the SAM's engagement range, shown here by the two red circles, and you will have to essentially wait for the SAM to lock on and then engage with its missiles. So, since the red threat ring is technically the engagement zone, and obviously the SAM will not engage unless, of course, it has a probability of kill, how can we increase our odds of survival against the SAM system? Well, what we can do is we can offset our approach so that way our closure rate to the SAM site is not so fast. The one advantage of SAM sites versus a BVR fight is that the SAM site can't really move, and if it does, it's not able to shoot back. So, um, if we essentially adjust our approach angle, so if this blue line is our course inbound, what we can do is we can offset either to the right or to the left, such that we still, with our harm targeting system, are still targeting the SAM site. However, our closure rate, essentially the amount of speed towards the target that we are generating, is going to be a whole lot less than if we just kept heading straight towards it. So when we offset like this, we then force the SAM site to have to lead us. And every SAM site and almost every missile in DCS will always lead you in order to be able to perform a basic intercept. This is obviously how the most simplest of intercepts is: essentially just constantly lead the target until you eventually meet. Now, while this is not wrong, it is extremely energy expending. If anyone ever does dogfighting or knows about dogfighting, is that pulling lead expends energy in order to be able for you to pull ahead of the target. But because we know that the missile will pull lead, we can then use this to be able to drain the missile of energy. As once the missile is out of the rocket burn phase, it is essentially a glide vehicle. So the two ways that we can essentially drain the missile of energy is to force it to turn and for it to stay down low, because air density is thicker as we go down rather than as we go up, the air gets thinner. So in order to do that, we need to keep our speed up. So before we enter any SAM engagement zone, we're going to be maintaining at least Mach 0.8 on our airspeed. This way, we ensure that our lead is essentially as far out in front of the aircraft. It also allows us to quickly regain speed, and it still keeps the aircraft maneuverable. And this mainly applies to the three main SEAD aircraft that you can use: F-14, F-16, and F-18. All of these at Mach 0.8 will be able to quickly accelerate to Mach 1 in a dive, and they'll be able to still be maneuverable at Mach 0.8, and it's about the least amount of drag that you can get on the aircraft. So, with that in mind, now what we need to plan out is what exactly are we going to do when we meet the SAM. So, knowing the fact that the missile always pulls lead, and we know that our optimal airspeed is Mach 0.8, what we're going to do is we are going to enter the SAM threat ring, get locked up, and before we hit the engagement zone, we're going to start cranking either to the right or to the left. Once we do this, we're then going to proceed on our HAD or on, with the Hornet, it's going to be either self-protect or TOO. We're going to lock the SAM site up and engage. Now, with the Hornet, we're probably going to have to do this on the next thing that I'm going to talk about. So, once the SAM system has engaged, the missiles will be coming off the SAM site in a lead trajectory towards our heading. This means as in the launchers have already turned themselves towards that position and fired to essentially keep the missile from expending as much energy as possible on getting towards that intercept. However, because of that, it means as in the lead point where the missiles are heading is in front of us, and the missiles are heading towards that point. So what we can do is we can move that point. And by doing that, we can essentially reverse our crank. So usually this involves, for me, a 135-degree rollover to the opposite direction of our crank. So if we went left, we're going to roll right and pull. And if we turned right, we're going to do left and pull. So the objective here is to essentially reverse direction. Not 180 degrees, but essentially a sharp enough turn, usually about 60 degrees in the opposite direction. This will force the missile to suddenly have to not only go from its before lead position to the new lead position, thereby exerting energy. If we started at a high altitude, say 30,000 feet, we can then also, with the 135-degree roll, add a dive element to it. So now we're also increasing airspeed, thereby increasing the lead point in front of the aircraft. We are also then bringing that lead point closer and closer to the ground. Now, this has two effects. One, it brings us closer into IR SAM range. So if we drop below 14,000 feet AGL, we are at risk of being shot at by IR SAMs. However, is that as we increase our dive angle and increase our speed, we also put our lead point further into the ground. And for most SAM systems, they don't have a terrain avoidance system, at least in DCS. This means if we essentially can lead the missile far enough, it will fly into the ground. This is the pretty much easiest way to defeat a missile. However, it does put you at risk of IR SAM coverage. Another method is that you can also do the same effect, but not drop to the deck. And instead, as soon as the rocket motor burns out, if it is not too close, you can increase your offset angle to 90 degrees and then use the energy that you have done to pull up. So that way, as in the missile now has to use its remaining energy, which is usually at closer to Mach 2, and now has to zoom climb after you. And if you have enough energy and climb rate and are far enough away from the missile, you will be able to outclimb the missile and the missile will not be able to catch you. Now, final thing before we go and show this off. SAM systems in DCS are programmed to fire 2 missiles at aircraft. The first missile is a low PK shot. The second missile is a high probability of kill shot. This is because the doctrine that the SANs have been programmed with is that when they fire the first missile, they know that you could use all of your energy to dodge it. The first missile is extremely easy at a Mach 0.86 to dodge the first missile that is shot, especially from an SA-2, even an SA-6. The problem is you will expend your energy so much, you will be so slow and non-maneuverable that the second missile will kill you. So it's not the first missile you have to be worried about, it's the second missile. The first missile is easy to dodge. The second missile is the one that could possibly kill you. So, with that, I'm going to demonstrate what in the role we just talked about with cranking and then reversing, and we're going to dive towards the deck. And then I'm going to show you one with the Hornet where we're going to use the TALD to essentially substitute for our aircraft, and we're going to use it to hopefully prosecute the target. Alright, so we're 30 miles out from the SAM site. So I've got all my systems set up in EOM mode, and we're all set up with countermeasures. So what we are going to do is we're going to wait for the SE2 to start locking us, and once he does, we're going to start a crank to the right, and then we're going to reverse that as soon as he launches. Alright, so Spike 2. Got him locked up on the hat. They're going to crank right. Put him at about our 10 o'clock position. Make up just a little bit of speed here. So the SA2 takes a while to lock. But once he fires, we're going to return fire with a Magnum, and then we're going to dive and crank. Let's launch. Magnum 2. Opposite side at our 2 o'clock position. We've got the contrails. I'm going to steep the descent to 40 degrees. See, the missiles are really pointing down now. So are we. Reversing the crank.
Altitude. Pull up. Altitude.
That's one. There goes the second missile. We've just lost the radar. So that means that our harm has probably hit the site. So, let's do that again with the SA-6. Now, the SA-6's missiles are a little bit more aggressive, so you definitely will have to either be a little bit more defensive with your cranks, or you'll have to be a little bit more aggressive with your dive. SA-6 is locking. Cranking left. And for this one, we're going to Magnum ahead of his launch. So for him, I'm going to crank a little more because I don't want to get too close. There's that missile. Alright, so we're going to do a split S. Hot chaff at the 90-degree mark. because of our early Magnum, he's already dead. Missiles defeated. Alright. So that is single ship SEAD in the Viper. And next we're going to show you some stuff with the Hornet. Alright, so we're now on the Hornet, and we're going to be using TALs to essentially get the SA-2 to shoot at the TALs, and then we're going to shoot back at the SA-2. And then we're going to go drop some dumb bombs on the site to ensure that it's destroyed. And that's pretty much how we're going to do a single ship SEAD / D mission with the Hornet. So there we go. So Mach 0.9. Kind of trim it out because we're having 2 bags on right now. Alright, so for this, we're going to release the TAL before we get to the threat ring of the SA-10. This way is in, or sorry, the SA-2. This way is in, we will attract the SA-2 to the TAL instead of us. So TAL'd away. So TAL is away. We're going to make a sharp right-hand turn. Do a very quick 360, hopefully. And come back, and we should be ready with our harm here. Alright, so we've got a 2 on our SA, or sorry, on our arm display. We're gonna hand it off, get ready to shoot at it. So we're already hand off. We are going to go Magnum. Magnum 2. Then I'm going to release another TAL on this course. And then I'm going to crank left for this one. So we are very asymmetric to our left right now. Alright. And the SA-2 is dead. We do not have a mark for it. Oh, possible launch. So we're going to mark it. Yep, launches out. We just lost the signature because we are outside of the track radar's radiation signature. So now let us switch to flare mode. Okay, that is the site. And we do have a smoking track radar. So what we're going to do now is we are going to ready our 2 Mark 20s. And we're going to prosecute the site with the clusters. Set our height to 1500. Actually, I should go for 1200. Alright, so tally smoke. So we're now going to use our practice with CCIP. So we're going to roll, keep the target off of our nose by about 20-30 degrees to either left or right. So we're going to roll in. Nope, a little too early. A little too early. Alright, now it's a good time to roll in. Alright, we're going to release both bombs on the site. Idle in case of any IR SAMs. Start flaring. Okay, visual on the truck. Clusters off.
Altitude. Altitude.
Let's go up. And a couple good hits. Alright, hope that helps with your single ship SEAD missions, and I will see you in the next video.